Cheers, big ears.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Time of the recording. It's Valentine's Day, folks. Hug the one you love.
If you couldn't tell, if you're watching on YouTube, we're looking awfully festive over here, Timbo.
A little bit. I mean, same red hat I wear every day, but, you know.
But now, because of my obscene shirt,
it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm wearing a shirt covered in hearts, by the way, in case anybody was wondering. It's extreme.
It's great. Welcome back to the Shoot Your Shot podcast, the community-driven podcast for photographers like you. And thank you so much for showing up, liking, commenting, subscribing. We're so happy to see you. You look great today.
You look really handsome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or beautiful, or all the things.
All the things. My name is Tim.
And I'm Lindsay Coulter.
And today we're going to do a little bit of a recap of the people that Lindsay and Taylor Jackson talked to at Imaging USA in Dallas, Texas?
Well, that's generous. It was in Grapevine, but we'll call it Dallas.
Yeah.
So I was at Imaging last week and last weekend or whatever, I guess. Whatever. It's been a time because in true Texas fashion, I got COVID while I was there.
That's about right.
So we're recording this slightly closer to our time of actually airing it because I have not sounded like you would want to hear my voice. That is for certain.
It's also just February. Like everyone's kind of in a weird low energy eco mode kind of state.
Eco mode for sure. Yeah. I think we've all been in eco mode, but I was not in eco mode in Texas. I was in full on conference girl mode.
Yes.
I was buzzing around. I was hanging out at booths. I was at the Imagine booth. I was helping out our friend Angela with her booth for social templates. I was at the Focal booth.
Love it.
I was just buzzing. I just was like, I didn't really
bopping and buzzing.
I didn't have a job to do. I was just hanging out. I was like talking to my friends at Nikon. I was like,
that's honestly,
what else do I have to do right now?
That's why I go to like things like WPPI and Imagine Imaging USA as well. Like I just bop.
I just love to bop. And you're going to be bopping with me and the whole fam at WPPI. And I also love that we don't really have any responsibilities. Well, I probably will have some that are going to come up now because after Imaging, they always come crawling out of the woodwork. But before we get started, and I am excited about this episode because, as the community-driven podcast that we are, this is putting some faces to the community that's listening, and that's just so cute for us.
Yeah.
But before we get started,
if you're new here, we always roll the magic 8 ball because everyone needs a higher power, and ours is a broken magic
really
8 ball.
Broken.
Questions? I got nothing, dude. Do you have anything top of mind? Anything pressing on your brain that you want the answer of a yes or no to?
Let me think.
It's kind of tough.
You know what, Tim? Yeah, actually, I do have a question. So the inquiries have been rolling in, and it's been getting exciting.
Yes.
I've been getting so many inquiries. I even got like a scam inquiry for a wedding in Portugal. I
heard about this.
I'm so mad about it. I was really excited.
I'm sorry,
but it ended up being a scam. But anyways. I digress. I've been getting a lot of inquiries, a lot of little nibbles. Do you know what I haven't been getting a lot of? Is paid. So I want to ask the Magic 8 Ball, and please give me a good answer. Is your girl going to get paid by some of these inquiries soon?
It feels loose. Like the inside feels like it's going to come undone and just spill over my shirt.
Gosh, that would be a bad omen, wouldn't it?
The answer is cannot predict now. So
it really is fickle. I think I get that answer more than anything out of that thing. But that's okay. I believe in it. I'm plugging away.
Yeah.
It's an art, not a science, these bookings,
Truly.
And what I will say, and I tell myself this all the time, is that people are still broke and they are just excited and wanting to plan their weddings.
Yes.
They are still broke from the holidays. They're still paying off their credit cards, and they are getting a little bit anxious about not securing their photographer or whatever in time. Maybe they secured their venue over the holidays and now they're like, hey, I got to get on the next thing. So
I have 2 brides who are like, we want to book you. Can we pay you later? I'm like, and they're friends. So I'm like, of course. I'll let you know if someone comes screaming at me with money for your date, but like, we'll talk in March.
You know what's interesting though, Tim? So I had an inquiry that did that to me last week.
Ooh.
Delightful person. Okay. She seemed lovely.
Do you have a personal relationship with them, or is it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
She found me. She actually is getting married at a really cool venue that I've shot at before, and the venue referred me, which I thought was really nice because I'm not like on their list or anything.
Yeah.
And she had reached out. We had like a really, really great phone call, and I really love this. I love when people are transparent. Just be honest with me.
Tell me what's up.
Don't dick around. Don't try to tell me like, oh, we just need some time to chat things over. Don't bring up 12 questions you have about the contract instead of just being honest and saying, I just paid off my credit card from the holidays.
Yes.
And then we went and booked this venue.
Florist.
And then they booked their DJ.
Yes.
And now they're booking their photographer. And she said, I want to book you, but wondering what we can do about the deposit, because she was very funny. Like, I was like, oh, we're going to get along well. Yeah. She was like, it's scary at the moment. I'm going to be honest. It's scary. And I was laughing like,
girl, I've been there.
Been there. And I was like, I don't actually have a workflow that allows me to pencil you in.
Okay.
I just said I don't have a workflow that allows me to pencil you in. I said it's really the way that it works for me is you're either booked or you're not booked. The thing I can do is I can adjust your deposit amount.
Okay.
So what I did was I took a 20% now.
Yeah.
And then the 30 to make up my 50 has to be owed by the end of this month.
Brilliant.
Which I think is valid. It gives her a couple of paychecks or whatever to come through. But I mean, you have a personal relationship with these brides.
I do.
It sounds like, so that's nice for you. But I just was like, I don't want to be holding a date and find out the hard way, as we always tend to.
Yeah. I told them that, like,
maybe I don't want reason to come into play. I don't want her to be like, if I can't afford it now, I should probably not afford it in 3 months once I do have the money.
Smart.
I don't want her to think that. I want her to think, no, I will figure this out.
You want her to be, fully in.
Yeah, her wedding's a year and a half away. I was like, there's always more money to be made, babe.
Always money in the bandstand.
So anyways, I loved that we could find and she was stoked about it. She was like, that seems like fair. Like, you want to be paid a little bit to know, like, I'm not just gonna, anyways.
Skedaddle. Yeah.
So the Magic 8 Ball might be wrong, but we press on. We keep
move
working.
Forward. Imaging USA is a yearly annual photo conference for photographers in the United States and abroad, I guess. But they host it in the United States, typically like middle USA, I'd say. You know what I mean?
I guess so. It's my first time. I think it's like a Midwest.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Middle of the country.
I don't know anything about. Well, is Dallas the middle of the country, my guy? I don't know about that.
Like, geographically, it's not a coast.
Do you know what I would say that they do seem to have a theme?
What's that?
Is that they always happen at Gaylord hotels.
They do like
What's
the Gaylord.
that about?
I don't know.
So for those of you who haven't been through an Imaging USA and you haven't been to a Gaylord hotel, Gaylords are there's one in Nashville. That's one that I was aware of. Okay.
Yep.
But they are, I think there's like 4 of them, maybe. Yeah. They're these mega hotels that have like the center atrium and then wings with like a conference center, hotel, whatever.
Restaurants. Yeah.
But the horrific thing for me as an outdoors girly is that you can't get outside. Yeah. You can't get outside. You stay inside. The center of the hotel is an atrium, like glass.
Yes.
So if you've seen Jurassic Park, thank you so much, where the birds like bust out.
In like that giant terrarium or what is it called? It's like
it's an aviary, I guess is what it's called. I Googled it because I was like, what's that word? I was like, topiary? Anyways, it's where the birds are. Yeah. And that's what it felt very much like. But what it also does, and this is my tip for anybody going to imaging next year, what it also does is it recirculates air constantly, which is both very drying and both very unhealthy. Yes. If there are 10,000 people at a conference and anyone has the flu or anything else. So,
and a lot of these plants, are they real? I feel like some of them
tons of real plants.
So I mean, you're getting like decent oxygen, but I think it's too much oxygen, to be honest. You need some nitrogen, you need some other nutrients from the air, and it's very much like a shopping mall. Here's a little video from Taylor Jackson.
Hi, shoot your shot. We're at Imaging USA. And wonderful. Where are we?
Exactly.
Bingo.
Where are we is exactly the question.
So that's the format of the show. People took the what is it called? The receiver of a telephone that Lindsay had connected to her phone, walked around the showroom floor, everywhere in the area, and got people to give us their hot takes and questions for the show. Should we roll right into it, Lindsay?
I think we should. Let's get right into it. Let's say hi to some friends.
Hi, I'm Karina. I work at Focal. And a fun fact is we've actually found that over 40% of our leads have come in with no wedding date and no wedding venue. So as a wedding photographer, what would you do in that scenario?
Karina
from Focal. Haven't met seems lovely.
Yeah, Karina's delightful. You won't meet at WPPI, unfortunately. Okay. Karina has like a big family trip, I think, or a girls trip maybe at the same time, unfortunately, but I'm sure we'll meet again.
We like Focal. Focal's a website building platform to help you increase bookings through their CRM, their incredible SEO, and their websites that they use machine learning to build. It's
and
great.
The main thing actually that Focal's working on right now. So the reason why, for those of you that are watching, Karina's wearing a shirt that says "I Heart Hot Leads," which is very cheeky and I truly love. One of the things that Focal is doing right now is, instead of just being a website company for photographers, and like probably the best website option for photographers, hashtag biased, one of the things that they're like, I would say the main thing that Focal is now doing is getting leads for it's lead generation, but not just that. They actually have a studio manager assigned to you if you're part of it's called Focal Ignite. That's the program that they've rolled out over the past year and a bit. So they get leads from people, and then they follow up on the leads for you, because one of the things that photographers is terrible at administrative tasks, myself included.
What's up?
And then they lose out on perfectly good leads, and they're not closing sales, just like I apparently am not at the moment.
Just the whole thing.
And they close these sales, and they actually get bookings for photographers. It's really crazy. So if you are struggling to get leads, this is a really good way to do it. I promise you that's like it's probably not the only promotion thing that I'm going to tell you in this episode. However, I truly stand by it, because as one of the very first people that did the Focal Ignite beta, when it was in the first early days, they had me run it, or they ran it for me as a test, as a pilot. Yeah. And it was so effective, I had to tell them to turn it off because I was getting more clients than I could handle. Right. Which is crazy.
That's wild.
Truly, truly crazy. So, to go back to Karina's question.
The question at hand.
The question is, we are seeing a lot of leads coming in to these photographers, and they don't even have a venue or a date yet. Yeah. And they're obviously from Focal, they're seeing this as a huge opportunity, because they're not photographers. Focal, they work with photographers, but they themselves are not photographers. They're salespeople. Yes. So they're like, there's zero objections here. Why wouldn't you see that as a good thing? And I was saying to Karina, well, is that a good thing? Because then I have to walk somebody through this whole process of booking a wedding. And then we had this really great chat, Timbo, where we were like, oh, but wouldn't you like to be the person that helps guide someone's entire client experience of booking their wedding? You can help them decide on a venue that suits your vibe. That if they're coming to you, they obviously like you. Bingo. So I'm going to ask you, Tim, because I know what my answer is. If a client comes to you and they say, Tim,
what's up?
I'm engaged.
Love it.
And
Congrats.
I heard about you, or I've been following you for a year plus, and you're the only thing that I know that I would like. Okay. What do you do? Are you go away and come back? Because actually some photographers do. Some photographers do. In the past, when I was crazy busy, I was doing 50, 60 weddings. I didn't have time for customer service. Yeah. Not to this level.
Yeah, no, not personalized.
I would say, oh, you should go search out some places and come back to me when you have a date booked. I was just sayonara. Yeah.
Here's what's burned me in the past. I've offered too much to my clients before they were actually clients. So I'll be on a call, I'm like, oh, let me know who else are you looking to book, in terms of vendors, and they're like, DJ. I'm like, oh, I'll offer my opinion on a call.
You give a whole list,
which is 9 times out of 10 a mistake, because they'll just take that without take my opinions and ideas, and they can run with it, whereas they haven't paid me, they haven't booked. I'm giving them free advice, and I feel like that's something you need to put behind the paywall. I'm getting it better at. Once you book with me, we can talk about other vendors you can hire based on my opinion, based on what I've seen and worked with before. Yeah. I would love, back to your question, I would love a couple to come to me and say, hey, we love you. And this happened before, not often, but every now and then. We love you. We don't have a venue yet.
Help us out.
Help us out. Yeah.
I think the one thing it does really well is it fosters a really strong relationship between you and this client who, for them so far, you've just been a person on the internet, and now you're a person that's giving them personally tailored advice. So I have this currently ongoing with one of the clients that has reached out to me and has not yet booked me, because they don't have anything booked yet. Right. And they reached out, they booked a call, which at first I was a little bit of a red flag. Why are we booking a call when you don't have anything booked yet? That's weird. But we had this call, and they were basically here's our vision. Here's how we want it to feel. They're really cool people. I feel like we're going to vibe, because they were both did like some manifestation, and we did some like vision like boarding essentially for our wedding plans, and we did it separately, and then we came together.
Love that.
And here's kind of what our things are. We want it to be small. We want it to be intimate. We want it to be fun.
Do they have a date?
Well, no, they don't have a date because they don't have a venue. So they're wide open.
Are they flexible on when they book around you? Like,
so they have basically given me a window. That's
the elephant in the room,
They
really.
said May 2026 is kind of what they're hoping for.
Okay.
And so based on that information, I referred them to like a brewery and, like just some different places that I thought would be fun. And then based on them being so cool, I did refer them to our good friend Lauren Roy, who's another big visionary person.
Yes.
And then Lauren has now referred them, and this was probably the really smart move, to Jeff and Michelle Mack, our friends that are planners.
Amazing.
Right? So these are people that are all putting this picture together.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't know. At some point, they could change their mind and say, that was so nice of you to give us all that information, and we're going to go elsewhere. But I truly, in my heart of hearts, believe that they're going to say, we not only trusted you like to help us plan the vision, but we trust you that if you say we need package 2, we need package 2.
That's the one.
We trust you if you say that we should have the extra hour for, cocktail hour, we should do that too, whatever, right? So one thing that I think is interesting about the way that Focal does things, though, in how they're booking these leads. So one of the things that they do is that they do some sort of a giveaway. Okay. And that's how they're doing a lead capture. And that's what I did. So I did an engagement shoot giveaway. Mm-hmm. So I did like 6 engagement shoots thinking maybe 2 of them would actually book weddings. And almost all of them have booked their weddings with me.
Amazing.
And I think in doing that, lots of them can come and work with you, and they can see what it's like while going through the booking process. So maybe what we do, if somebody comes to us and says, I don't have a date yet and I don't have anything yet, I say, perfect. Book your engagement shoot with me. At the engagement shoot, we can talk about your wedding plans.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the move. That's how you get them. So it's still time. You're not wasting your time on a call for nothing.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
What do you think of that?
I think that's a great idea.
That's my thought. I don't know whether I think it's a good one.
It's one of those things that's tough to do given the time of year. They're like, let's do an engagement shoot in May.
So that was the one thing that I did find was challenging for myself running it, was because we started the beta of it in Canada, well, in Ontario specifically. I think it was in March or something, right?
Last year.
So I was booking people for engagement shoots a little bit out, but knowing that I was the person doing their engagement photos, they were still coming to me for advice on planning.
And they weren't looking anywhere else for photography because they're like, well, we have that booked.
And wouldn't that be awkward?
Yes.
If we do this engagement shoot with this person and then we go and book a wedding with somebody else. Probably
not. It's a brilliant idea. Focal, thank you so much for the question. It's a great opportunity, I think, for photographers to assert themselves as the expert in the industry and to help couples, guide them on their way to finding the perfect space, date, all the things.
In speaking with the sales team at Focal, the ones that help photographers actually sell things. Yeah. The constant that I always find that we always come back to when we're talking about how can we coach photographers to sell, you know? Yeah. The constant that we always come back to is stop closing the door on yourself before your clients have closed it for you. Yeah. Right? Like these people are coming to you and they don't have a date. And I've been guilty of it in the past, being like, okay, well, come back to me when you do. Yeah. In any other industry, people would be like, this is an incredible lead because these people are literally wide open. Yeah. And you can just give them all that they need to come back to you and say, I did everything you said and now I want to book with you.
Teacher, please.
Yeah.
Put me in coach.
And photographers, for whatever reason, we're like, well, that's not how my workflow is. Or I saw on some forum that I shouldn't do things that way, so I don't. And it's like, listen, if your goal is to sell weddings or sell anything, we should just figure out how to say yes and just not close the door.
Yeah, it's not hard.
Yeah.
Adapt.
Okay, I'm so excited for this next one. Let's get into it.
I'm Alexis. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I listen to Shoot Your Shot every Monday when Lindsay and Tim upload it. My business question is, how do you approach turning people from one-time customers to lifelong customers?
Such a great question.
Alexis from Texas, thank you so much.
The first thing I have to say, so that anybody who's watching this isn't thinking, what's wrong with these people? Do they not know how to hold a phone? So for whatever reason, we discovered that the receiver for these phones, that the microphone and the earpiece are flipped. Yeah. So when people were holding them this way, it was just going into their hair, the microphone part.
Not great.
So there is nothing wrong with Alexis. She knows how to use a phone. Yeah. She's not that Gen Z that she doesn't know how to use a phone. Alexis, it was so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming up to me. I know that's really like a weird thing to do, to come up to somebody at a conference and be like, hi, I know you.
Yeah.
And I listened to you. And I just thought it made my whole day that day. Like the bopping around and everything can get tiring.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of yapping. So to have somebody come up to you and be like, I listen to you yap once a week.
Thanks, Alexis.
And yeah, no, it was really, really a fun little, it was a fun meeting. So thank you for coming up to me. And if you're listening to this, anybody else that sees us at WPPI, Tim and I are definitely weird people.
We love to chat.
But we are not weird in the sense that we won't like you coming up to us.
Yeah.
If you listen to us and you watch this, it would in fact be weird if you didn't come and say hi. So feel free to just pull on up like Alexis did, and maybe you'll end up being on the WPPI recap.
We'll reconfigure the phone so it works and sounds better.
I think we just need to go with like a better system,
Agreed.
man. I think we just get like an actual microphone or something.
We have a bunch. We have so many.
I
think
like
1,000 microphones in this fucking
there's
thing.
a lot of tech here. But let's get back to Alexis's question.
Lifelong customers.
Instead of one-timers.
One-timers.
Tell me.
We've talked about this a lot on the podcast, and Alexis probably knows this because she's a listener, but this is good. This is
she queued us up. You think she teed us up for a goodie?
Of course she did. Just out of the park. You want to sell them on your services outside of wedding photography. You book them for a wedding. Guess what happens after people get married?
They get divorced. Wait.
Statistically, yes. A lot of them, before that point, they try and solve the problem with the child. So a lot of people... A lot of people like to have children. Part of life.
I'm so sorry if anybody, it's Valentine's Day and we're like, what happens after a wedding? Babies that you try to solve your marital problems with. And then divorce. And then
your alimony Tony.
Boudoir photos.
And then boudoir photos.
And then your next family photos with your new person.
It's a whole treadmill. So no, people have families, and family photos are something that you excel at, something you're very good at selling,
Thanks,
something
Tim.
I'm getting
You too.
better at. I have a few families I shoot once a year who are past clients who like me, which is lovely. I mean,
because
there's a comfort level there.
You used to close the door. And you used to say, oh, it's not my thing. I'm going to refer you to my friend Lindsay.
Yeah.
And then one time I said, listen, I absolutely will take your client's money.
Lindsay loves to solve all my problems.
I will. I totally will take your client's money. Like it's not a no for me. Absolutely not. But I'm trying to figure out why it's a no for you.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I don't know. I don't really do wedding photo, or I don't do family photos. And I was like, yeah, yet.
And I think it's also from the point of like, I've seen and I've heard, because we are each other's in studio therapists.
Of course.
I know when it goes bad, it can go real bad. And I've seen those, but those are unqualified clients. You know what I mean? Like those are clients
these are not your normal.
For the most, that's what I mean.
You shot their wedding.
Exactly. So
you know they're good.
That's the thing. You're going to think that they're going to be a nightmare, but if they were genuinely good human beings on the day, you enjoyed working with them, turn them into family clients. You know what I mean? Sell them on that.
There is something to be said. I will agree with you that a wedding client, it's harder to have a bad wedding client than it is to have a bad family client or a bad, like a smaller session, because
go off. I want to hear more.
I know that we are in like, you know, the B2C realm here, where we are consumer facing. We are selling to individuals in our area. And when we're shooting weddings, there's a longer courting process, so to speak, right? They are spending some time really, truly deciding on who the right person is for you.
Totally.
And if your website is doing a really good job and your social media is doing a good job and your whole workflow of people's inquiry process is doing a good job, they pre-qualify themselves. So you're not really going to get a client that's not the right vibe for you. You're not going to get a client that is a scary person, generally speaking.
Hopefully.
However, with a family session, especially a mini session where people maybe are just going for whatever the cheapest option is.
Yes.
Or where they are just going for who's currently available.
Yes.
Or who's shooting at the location that winter that they really wanted to work with. Or a friend of a friend had really nice pictures. And so they saw that and they were like, I want that. And maybe they have nothing in common with you as a photographer.
Yeah.
I do think it's easier to get a higher percentage of clients through the door as family clients that I'm not aligned with.
Yeah.
It's not common for me anymore, but when my pricing was lower, it was a lot more common. So if you are trying to turn your current clients into lifelong clients, you have the joy of having already had an experience with them.
Totally.
So if they're not the right vibe for you, then that's totally okay.
Just tell them you don't do that. And if they're couples who have booked with you for their wedding, chances are that they are printing their images if you've sold them well and you use things like PicTime to encourage them to print photos. They want their home to match the vibe of the photos that they've already printed for their wedding day. They want the continuation of their gallery of life to have a cohesive look and feel to it in terms of how you pose people, how you capture them, the lighting, the tones, your preset, all that nonsense, bullshit, good thing that you do. So it's a no-brainer. They're like, let's go with this person.
They don't want to go to somebody who shot their engagement shoot totally true to life, and then they end up with the sepia photographer for their next family session at a tree farm. And then they're like, damn,
we are creatures of
none
habit.
of these fit the whole vibe of my house. I actually just did a family shoot this past fall in Sauble Beach. Yeah. Totally out of my normal location.
Those photos look great.
Thank you so much.
Go to Lindsay's Instagram or go to her Threads. It's on there too.
Yeah, it's on Threads and it's on Instagram. I just posted a little thing, and I actually posted a blog. I've been getting into blogging again, Tim.
In your blogging era.
I did say on an episode, it would have been last year now, that I was going to get back into blogging, and that I thought that we were going to go more I'm going to go more in depth in what feels like an analog experience. It's obviously not. It's literally on my website. But I'm going to get more into the blogging side of things because I am tired of only marketing on a thing that is apparently owned by a Nazi sympathist.
Whoa.
That's a big claim, but it's apparently not far off. I'm not excited to be only building on Meta, and for so many reasons that are not just political. But I've been blogging again. So I digress.
You digress. We digress.
I shot this family session in Sauble Beach.
Yeah.
My client, Steph, reached out to me. She has been my client since her engagement photos in, I want to say 2013.
Wow.
She reached out to me, and you want to talk about not closing the door on yourself? I heard so many stories about brides and bridezillas and stuff that I was really like, I had my spidey senses tingling when she first reached out because she was actually coming to me after having fired her previous wedding photographer because she did not have a great experience with their engagement photos. She didn't like the editing. She didn't like the overall experience.
This is before her wedding.
This is before her wedding, and she came to me and she inquired, your hair looks so good.
Wow,
Tim.
dude.
It looks really good. But she came to me and she said she didn't have a great experience, and I was worried, truthfully. Okay. And I qualified her so hard. And I remember there's a reason why I have no problem saying this, because I remember her and I having this conversation.
Right.
I just remember asking her a lot of questions, being like, what do you think I can do to make sure that experience doesn't happen again? Because I don't want to book you to be your second photographer that you're not happy with.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to make sure that it truly was that guy was not the right fit for you, and not that you can't be pleased. And it thankfully was not at all that. She was so easy to please.
Amazing.
She just didn't have the right person for her. And so now that she has found me, and we did her engagement session, we did their wedding photos, and I did like her first pregnancy announcement long before I ever did anything like that, and babies, families, like this has now been over 10 years.
Wow.
And so they've moved now out of the area, like well out of the area. So she emailed and said, is this even a thing you want to do?
Yeah.
She was like, but to go back to your point about you want your home to feel consistent and like you want your images to feel like your home does.
Yeah.
She said, I want all of our images to still match. Yeah. So we want to have you do that, because it's not just an editing thing. My editing style obviously has changed since 2013, but it's the way that I try to capture her family that she wants to have consistent. So even though, I'm like, that's a little bit out of the area, I'm going to do a little bit of a drive. It was really nice. And it's nice to be able to say, yes, I would love to do that, and not turn it away and give that booking to somebody else, because that just seems a little bit crazy. But
so if you're just starting out with family stuff, coming from a photo only world in terms of weddings with your couples and clients, we'll play a little game.
Please, I'd love a game.
We'll have 3 things. We can do a little rally back and forth of things you can, like a strategy, a real tangible strategy you can do get these couples who you've shot their wedding, they love you, to be family clients. And number 1 is tell them that you do family sessions. So simple.
So simple.
Just let them know that that's something that you are able to do and love to do, and you love to do that for them.
Okay, number 2 is it's sort of it's a two-parter. One of them, you have to have good organizational structure to know who your 2024 clients were. 2025, perhaps we reach out on an anniversary and we give them a discount for a family session.
Amazing.
Because they've experienced what wedding life is like with you, but maybe they weren't even considering doing family photos. Like maybe they're not family photo people. They have never done this before, but they've also never been married before. So like it's all new for them. They don't know what that looks like. So unless they have friends that are also usually doing family photos, maybe I don't know, they're not used to it. So toss them a little, hey, I loved working with you. Let's do some family photos. And the thing that I'll say is be super, super clear that family is whatever their family looks like. Yeah. Family can be the two of them. Yeah. Family can be
them and a dog.
Them and their dog. Yeah. It can be them and their parents. Like, don't make them feel like, oh, it's a year in and we're not pregnant. That's not what we want to do. No. But just say, I would love to do a couple or family session with you. If they reach back out and they say we're no longer together, maybe that's your time to say, do you need photos for your Tinder? I don't know. But just keep the lines of communication open. Yeah. And that can be through a direct email to them, or it can be through your CRM if you are doing that, or maybe a newsletter. A newsletter is a really good one. I really am a huge fan of a newsletter. Yeah. I have switched everything over to Flowdesk, which I'm really loving. And this past week, Google removed like tons of people's reviews.
Yes, they did.
And I was a victim of the Google review deletion. It was brutal. I had over 200 reviews.
It's devastating, dude.
And I saw somebody else post about it and I was like, oh, that's so sad for them.
Yeah. And then Chris Denner posted about it. And it was tragic. He had like over 300 or something like that.
Yeah. He got all of his back, but amazing. I went and looked at mine and mine was down to 109. Ugh. And I was like, I know it's still a lot, but like, that's a big loss. Like I was really sad about it. That's a lot. The amount of work that goes into getting 200 reviews is huge. Yeah. So it's really just all of the effort that's gone in. And I feel sad for my clients that spent their time doing that.
Yeah. Sharing that.
But the one thing that I will say is if anything ever happens to your reviews at all, ever, if somebody leaves you a bad review and it's fake, or something like this occurs or whatever, it is the perfect time to ask your clients for reviews. The perfect time, because nobody will come out for you in a review section like your past clients who are sad that you've been slighted in some way. And so I sent out a little news. I sent
came to your rescue.
I sent out an email to my client list and said, hi, everyone. Google has hurt me. Sad. And I got 40 new reviews. Excuse me? Yeah. So nice. So Google hasn't completely fixed it, but I think I'm up to like 160 something now.
Okay, nice.
So we're getting back up there. Yeah. But apparently what it's actually done, just to clarify for anybody who missed all of this, is that the actual reviews are mostly still there. It's just the count is wrong.
Okay.
So the total number of them when it shows up saying what it is.
Such a shame because that's the vanity metric that people look at.
Well, yeah, of course. People aren't going to go and count all of them. No. It's nice for the people that are going to go through and scroll that the actual words that people used are still there. And I really appreciate that.
Totally.
But it's really helpful to have updated reviews all the time. And so now I have 2025 reviews. So when new clients are looking, it's not just like 2023 and beyond. So
smart.
It was sad, but we've turned a negative into a positive over here. And a mailing list is a really good way to keep engaging. Okay, give me one more.
You took them. You took both of them. I was going to say incentivize them with a discount.
Oh, was I? Okay, I'm sorry I stole that from you.
No, that's fine.
You know what? Then I'll give you my third one, and maybe we talked about this, is just do like a really freaking good job.
Yeah.
Do a really good job.
Yeah.
Like just deliver your things when you say you're going to deliver them, and keep them in the loop if something goes wrong, and that's not going to happen. And tell them that they look nice. Tell them their hair looks good.
Yeah.
Make them feel like, damn, we're friends.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to get them to come back, because when I look at the reviews that I just got, the new ones and some of the previous ones, one of the common themes is Google like summarizes different words, that like a little word bubble that words and themes that keep coming up.
Yeah.
And the word feel is the top word that is used in my reviews.
Interesting.
Because it's how I made someone feel. Lindsay made us feel so comfortable.
Yeah.
Lindsay made us feel so beautiful. Lindsay made us feel. And that is what people remember when they look at those photos. They felt happy. They felt joyful. They were excited with their families. They, felt like it was the prettiest they'd ever been on their wedding day. Blah, blah, blah.
Bloody fucking blah.
No, and it made me feel very nice that's the thing. So I think, we just keep trying hard.
Yeah.
That's how you get people to come back.
They not only like your work, they like you as a person. So that's why they hire you.
You don't want to lose them to somebody else because you made them feel sad.
Hang on to them. Get a hook in them.
Hi, I'm Scott from Imagine. Holding a phone upside down, talking to you on the Shoot Your Shot Photography podcast about my hot take about the photo industry. And that is that every photographer, not every photographer, but a lot of photographers should have a podcast. If you want to know why, it's because brand awareness, competition, set yourself apart. That's my hot take. I have more on that, but that's all you're getting right now.
Oh, Scott.
Scotty from
What
Imagine.
A joy.
What a good boy.
You don't
know Scott?
Scott
is the podcast producer for Imagine, the company.
It's like I don't forget his official role. Community engagement. He runs the Facebook group as well. So if you are, you want to know more about why Scott thinks that you should have a podcast, maybe go and join the Imagine Facebook group and ask him why.
He'll tell you.
Scott runs as you said, the Imagine podcast. And then he also has a podcast Facebook group specifically for photographers who are podcasters.
Yeah. Let's talk about this because everyone has a goddamn podcast.
Isn't it so annoying? How embarrassing.
I don't know if it's a good idea. I mean, for us, it's a good idea.
Because we're hilarious.
We're great at it.
We're good looking. We sound incredible.
And you're here and you're
incredibly humble.
And you've already liked and subscribed and told 6 friends about this and gave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
At the very least.
But is it a good idea for everyone to have a podcast? I think it's a good idea for everyone to have some kind of soapbox. Necessarily, maybe not a podcast.
A platform per se.
A place to project their ideas and show their work, whether that's, Instagram, Threads, God rest its soul, Twitter. It's having some place, a blog, to let people know what you do, what you're about, and how you do it. For us, it's a good idea because we have all this fucking equipment.
It's a really good idea for me because I do next to nothing. Today, I brought Coors Light.
Yeah, man.
And I walked around a trade show floor with a microphone that hardly works. So, for me, it's a really good idea. The thing that I'm going to say is I totally agree with you and I agree with Scott in that people need to have their voices heard.
Try it out.
Yeah, photographers specifically need to have their voices heard, not just the photographers that I see that are the most successful are the ones who do a good job of representing themselves as a brand and not just their photos. Because there are so many talented photographers out there that I could never tell you who shot that photo or what they look like or anything about them and their values or anything like that.
Totally.
On the opposite side of that, maybe I share too much of myself and my values. What do I know? You know what I mean? Who am I to say? I'm not a perfect person, but what I will say is that a podcast is no small undertaking at all.
Yeah.
It is a huge, huge undertaking. And if there's a barrier to entry, this would be the highest as far as putting yourself out there and for what I think that the cost and reward is.
Yeah.
If I was going to put time into something and hope to get a good reward.
Sure.
And the ROI in this scenario is hopefully that you're going to get more and better clients.
Yeah.
If you have a commercial business and you want to do like a commercial media podcast or a portrait business where you talk about all things portraiture or whatever, my thinking is, who are you marketing it to?
Who's it for?
Is it for clients or is it for other photographers? Because for us, this is obviously for other photographers.
But also, like a lot of vendors in the wedding space listen, like a lot of florists and planners.
Yes. So this is, and when I say that, I mean, it's an industry-wide kind of thing where we're targeted. But this is not specifically the podcast clients. To get couples to hire us,
agreed.
So if you're a photographer that's trying to get your voice heard, I would say, build on the land that you have, which is probably your own website, the blog, the newsletter, and get your voice out in those kinds of ways.
Totally.
Social media, do some more personable reels. The thing that I do think a podcast is really good for, though,
what's that?
Is learning what your voice even is.
Yeah.
You and I have been doing like sort of public speaking for a really long time.
Yep.
You wouldn't know it based on this thing. Just kidding. No, I think that we do an okay job. But
we've had some practice. That's the thing.
Like I've been doing public speaking since I was in high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've been doing it since then as well, really, like in some capacity or another through theater kid, right? Yeah. So if you are a shy little sprite of a thing, perhaps yapping on the internet is a good thing.
You said it was a huge undertaking. And I think I'm going to push back on that a little bit because this is a huge undertaking. We have 3 cameras and another source, and it's fucking madness because I have all this tech, 3 cameras I'm not using currently. I'm like, let's put together a studio to make a podcast and we can record video and also promote it on Instagram and also have YouTube.
We have a huge overhead light over here.
We got a goddamn LED thing.
We have a whole studio here that we pay a couple grand a month for.
Like, it's insane.
There's a lot going on in here.
You don't need to do what we do. This is madness. We do it because
you do smaller podcasts for your clients.
True.
Because Tim also, for those of you who maybe don't know
this,
they're
all audio based, which is so much simpler.
Tim runs podcasts for other people.
And podcasts don't have to be this. They can be something very simple with just your phone, you talking on the street even. Just record yourself chatting. In the world. There's a guy named Kevin Nealon. He's a comedian. He was on SNL. He's a very successful writer, comedian, and actor. And he has a podcast called Walking and Hiking. And he walks with a little gimbal and he talks to people. That. Like he's a celebrity, so he has guests like Conan O'Brien and all these other people on. But like that's his whole show.
Yeah.
Having a platform, a place to show yourself. I agree with Scott in that regard. Like find a home where you can present yourself in the world to show people and tell people what you do is a really good way to do like B2B marketing.
I totally agree. And
B2C even. Yeah.
And I think maybe the thing that I'll push back on what I previously said, that it's a huge undertaking to play the devil's advocate to myself.
Sure.
Is I think of it because I have this perfectionism disorder.
Okay.
That I'm like, this is the only way you can do it. And even this I don't think is enough. Like I keep looking at this table, this entire thing, and I'm like, it needs to be uplit. Why does it look so cluttery? Like the levels are wrong, right? Like I have issues. This cable here has been bothering me this whole time.
Yeah.
I have a problem with doing anything halfway.
Yeah.
And it's not really halfway to just do an audio podcast. It's actually, in fact, probably what they should be. But if we keep coming back to what is the reason and what is the purpose, for you and I, we enjoy podcasting. I think it's a fun thing it's a good creative outlet for us. If there were 12 people that listened to it, we would probably still keep doing this for a while.
Yeah.
So for us, that we just keep on coming back to, are we having fun with this? Like you and I do regular check-ins. Are we having fun with this?
Yeah.
Like, what do we want to do with it next? What brands do we want to work with?
Totally.
Where are we going with it next, right?
Yeah.
If for you, as a photographer, you are maybe, say, you want to be the best newborn photographer.
Yeah.
Make a newborn photography podcast that is constantly getting new traction on new moms that are wanting to figure out how to do better photos of their babies, or best locations to do their cake smash photos.
Totally.
Like there's an endless amount of
paint
content.
yourself into the corner of being the expert in that corner. Be like, I'm the one who has all the knowledge. Come to me, listen to me.
Yes.
Watch me if you have a video camera, you want to do something more elaborate like this, but like be the person that people come to as a resource that's free on the internet. And one more point is you should commit to sucking at it for a long time.
Yes.
Because it's not going to be good in the beginning. We
had a whole other podcast before
Drink
this
the coffee,
one.
do the work. It was trash.
It was not this.
Trash. It wasn't this.
It wasn't this. But you know what? Because of that podcast, we learned how to make this one.
Yeah.
And we learned what we didn't like. We learned what didn't work well. We only had guests on.
Yeah.
That was really hard for us. Like instead of this way where we're now saying it's like an 80-20 split of us versus guests.
My first podcast I recorded was it was for Plasticity Labs, the company I worked for back in 2012, 13, 14. And it was based in positive psychology, and we had one microphone, a Yeti microphone, on a table about this size in a soundproof room, which is partially why we started doing it. I'm like, we have this space, we should utilize it in this,
might as well.
This like empty office building that we rented. And I had myself and Scott Leith, who is a clinical psychologist, statistical psychologist of like in like a weird space. He's a very interesting guy. You should talk to him. And then we had guests on. We talk about psychology, and the microphone was so shitty, and the table was so shitty that we had to put a mat, like a rug down, basically on it, because Scott would talk with his hands,
right,
and make big sounds and gesture at the table. I'm like, you can touch the fucking because
we only have one microphone, and it's in the middle of this table.
It was so bad, dude.
It would be so far away. You just sound like you're talking into a void, like so bad.
It was basically that, and then from that I evolved to like working with him and another friend to do another podcast where we talk to people about psychology. That was hosted in my home. And
it had the worst name of all time. Tell the people.
It was called
Prescription Ointment.
Prescription Ointment. It was awful.
But have you ever heard of a thing that you get a visceral reaction to, like you do with the words prescription ointment? The only thing worse would be if you put the word moist in there somewhere. What the heck are you thinking?
A worse one that I registered for the company at the time because it was all about happiness and growth and becoming a better person.
Okay.
And I wanted it to be called.
Now I'm worried. Worse.
Does this growth look happy to you? I thought it was. I still think it's a really good name.
To be honest, I still prefer that over prescription ointment. Prescription ointment, first of all, doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it's dumb.
It's really stupid.
It's
second of all,
it's like Post Malone. Just put your name to you're thinking to a random generator and you get a name, and that's what we want.
And this is what happens when nobody pushes back on their friendships.
Can I tell you?
It probably was good.
People loved it. People loved it. This was like 2014 though, so it was kind of
easier then.
It was in the still Middle Ages of
I did listen to it, and I was mad about it every time because the content was really good and it was really entertaining.
Yeah.
The topics were great, and I just was like mad that this is on my phone currently. So
yeah.
It's okay to suck at it.
It's okay to suck at it. We have a
totally
mantra
okay
here.
To suck at it.
Suck for the first 10. Commit to sucking for the first 10. Maybe by 11 you'll get better.
I actually, we're talking about this. This is. I didn't think we were going to talk about this topic for as long as we are. But I was on the Beginner Photography podcast this past week. I was a guest on it. It's coming out in a week or so, I think.
Right.
And Raymond is on episode 500 something of it's the Beginner Photography podcast. You've probably heard of it. If you listen to this, it's probably one of the recommended ones that comes up on Apple or whatever for you.
Yeah.
When I told him that this is episode 51, I believe.
51, yeah.
Yeah,
wow.
We are one away from a year.
What's up?
And he asked, like, how's it going? And I said, well, we're just figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like, I would say it took us, like, really up until the fall.
40 episodes.
Like 40 episodes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if we quit sooner? And I hope that in a year from now, we see so much growth that we were like, remember 51, we thought we were doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to have this lighting situation solved by 52. I promise you that. I'm going to go, I'll bring my new Cobb LED light. We'll glow it up. But there's so many things that I think that we can improve on that take time.
Yeah.
And instead of quitting, we must just continue.
Yes.
And whatever that might be for you, whether that be blogging and your blogging hasn't been going well, or that be your overall client experience that you want to reassess, just know that there's somebody out there that has done literally 10 times what we have done. And he's still taking my feedback at the end of the episode. He's like, what do you think went well? What do you think I could work on? What did you like that you think? Because I told him, there's like a few things you've done that I'm going to implement in our podcast.
Okay.
And he was like, what would those be? Like, he was just curious. And I was like, this is the sign of like a true G of a business owner.
Yeah.
Because he's 500 and something episodes in.
And he's still evolving,
and he's still
iterating.
Like, what do you think I could do differently? Who do you think I should have on for my next episode?
Okay.
Like, just, that was
brilliant.
Cool. So there's many lessons to be had in this little tidbit. Do we have anybody else?
Yeah, we have one more person. Is that let me go through the list here? I think we got
that's
everyone.
right. We've got Noella on.
Noella.
This is a good question.
Noella.
Hello, everybody. I'm Noella Andres, and I'm here with your hot take for the day. Which is better, Canadian poutine or chili cheese fries?
Noella used to work at Imagine. She's a friend of Imagine.
Amazing.
She's a friend of the photography industry. She actually coaches photographers that are wanting to get into more like public speaking and brand work.
Oh, I saw her.
Which I think is a pretty natural progression.
Yeah.
It feels like doing just like silliness like you and I do.
Sure.
And then yapping about brands. She teaches people how to do that and then elevate it, which is cool. And I like that. And she's a fellow Canadian girly. And so the question is...
cheese fries. Chili cheese fries.
Or...
Poutine.
And, well, there's just not really any debate here.
It's poutine, my guy.
It's obviously the poutine. And if you're American, listen... we're sorry, but we would love to have you come up and try. And if you've said that you've had poutine and you've had it in America... You went to Epcot once.
Yeah.
Listen, you haven't.
You haven't had it.
You come up here, you go to Montreal.
Yes.
Even come to Ontario and you're going to go to Smokes Poutine. Okay.
Yep.
And you're going to get a thick fry and you're going to get cheese curds from Canadian dairy cows.
Yeah, bud.
Non-GMO.
Yeah.
I get a vegetarian gravy, so it's not really like a, authentic per se, but it actually tastes the same.
On that
a
note,
mushroom gravy, delicious.
On that note, chili cheese fries, one fucking note. It's one note.
You're totally right.
Do you know how many variations of poutine we have? Everything you can think of.
Mm-hmm. Buffalo chicken.
Wonton.
Do you know what my move is?
What
and
is it?
I was afraid to even say this because I was afraid that you were going to say you can't do multiple types of
You
poutine.
can.
Okay, I was just afraid. I didn't know if you're a purist. Some people are. Okay.
So I went to the original place where poutine was invented in Montreal with Taylor and our friend Joel.
Wow, amazing.
We flew there in 2021.
Oh yeah,
on
a private jet. That seemed like a logical thing to do.
Made sense. So we drove to this spot that's iconic. It's in the middle of a nothing town.
Yeah.
When I say nothing, there's like 6 buildings, people on tractors driving up and down the street, and just farmland as far as the eye can see.
And they invented poutine.
And there's all these photos of diplomats from around the world, prime ministers, members of state, actors, comedians, people that you would recognize from television, plastered all over the walls of this newly revamped, beautiful establishment that was kind of like a combination Tim Hortons. Like it was like that kind of style of building from like the 80s and 90s meets a Sonic, because they had drive-ins where you could drive your car into like a port that was covered.
Fun.
So cool. They had variations of poutine there that I did not know existed, because they were iterating. They constantly looked at their product and said, how can we make this better? How can we evolve? How can
What was your favorite?
Keep attracting. I just got the
You got the classic.
You have to go to the classic. I think you have to go. If you're going to the
You don't live in the town.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, my personal favorite from Smokes is veggie gravy, obviously. And green peas, pickles, and mustard. And obviously cheese curds.
Yeah.
Listen,
you get it with hot dogs. You get it with like
if we are ever drunk again, like drunk college students, that level of drunk.
Yeah.
I don't know when that'll be. It's not really in the cards for me at the moment, but like at some point.
WPPI. But they got rid of Smokes.
They don't have poutine there.
They got rid of it. It was there for a bit.
No.
It was there, then COVID killed it.
But they had to get rid of it because there's no freaking way that they would have had the right cheese curds there. This is the thing. Anybody that's ever been like, we've got poutine here, and then they bring out shredded cheese.
And you're like, get the fuck out of here. It needs to be squeak in my mouth.
It's not
in my mouth.
It needs to be squeaky. So
squeak in my mouth.
I hate it almost as much as prescription ointment. If we find ourselves in Montreal, perhaps for the Formula One Grand Prix, I'm going to bring you this absolute classic. My drunk university days, we would leave Phil's, we would walk across the street, we would go to this poutineery that only opened at like 10 p.m. at that time.
They knew their audience.
And I would get, and this is obviously a drunk girl's vision, pickles, green peas, yellow mustard, gravy, fries, and squeaky cheese curds. So,
delish.
Noella, not to start a trade war, but I think we all know the true answer here.
The true answer here is this. And if we're wrong, come at us in the comments. Let us know if there's a chili cheese fries iteration that exists that maybe is better, but we don't believe you. So
we don't believe you. We are proudly Canadian over here. Tim and I both. God save the poutine. And thank you all for listening, whether you are American or Canadian. We know that these invisible lines that somebody drew on a map are getting really weird right now.
Totally.
But we like you, and you probably still like us up here in Canada, whether or not the people that wear the ties of red and blue try to make us hate each other. We won't. Right? So that's my motivational moment for us all now. And now Tim is going to sing "Oh Canada."